And we are back. It is time to go over week 10, give our predictions, a preview of week 10, every team, every game, as we do every single week. As always, Al has joined me. Al, you ready to get into week 10?
Cannot wait. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about.
Totally agree here. Um, Real quick, we will also get into the trade deadline. It's going to pass while we're doing this. Full disclosure here, we record on Tuesdays, so the trade deadline is coming up. This will probably be out on Wednesday, but I'm going to try to get up as early as I can on Wednesday, so it won't be. It'll still be time sensitive, and you still have good information regarding the trade deadline as you're listening to it on Wednesday.
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
All right, so let's dive right in if you're ready.
Let's do it, man. Week 10 already in the NFL. Can't believe it. Um, Even in the new 17 game season, we're officially past the halfway point. Four teams on bye. You got Cleveland Browns, Green Bay, the Raiders, and Seattle, who, if there's a team that needs a bye more than Seattle, I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah,
All
they're
right.
floundering. They got some stuff to figure out.
They really do. They really do. We're going to find a lot about their new coach here, how he adapts to this, because they started off so strong, and now let's see if he can adapt to a tough stretch. All right, so Thursday night, here we go, man. And boy, what a fun one to start off the week with. Bengals at Ravens.
Okay, Ravens, a little bit of the walking wounded. We mentioned it before in the review show. How many injuries they're dealing with? There's a lot of limited and not and or did not practices. Nothing doesn't seem like it's anything major, and it's not major players. But it is two defensive ends is always tough to recover from, and a D tackle, all limited or did not practice. And then you got likely. So there's that. But and the Bengals are playing better, obviously, and I really love what Joe Burrow's doing. But I just can't see them beating Baltimore at home. Baltimore is on a roll here. They're if Cincinnati was playing, wasn't playing Baltimore and playing a team that they can handle a little better, I would definitely be picking them. Even if it was a team I thought was equal to them, I probably would pick them because I think they're on the upswing. But it's Baltimore, and they're at home, and I can't see Cincinnati getting this done. I have Baltimore 35-30.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yep.
And the 30 is in respect to Cincinnati playing well right now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. I went a very similar route actually. And what I'm trying desperately as we talk to find an update on T Higgins. Still nothing definitive. Okay, so it sounds like he may or may not play this week, which doesn't help at all. So, and that wouldn't change my pick anyway, honestly. It might change my score a little bit, but I'm not caveating first score. So, I'm going Ravens 30-24. And again, very much a respect to how well the Bengals are playing that I made it that close, given, you know, what the Ravens just did this week. So, yeah, great game, though. I can't wait to see this. Listen, my entire outlook on the Bengals season changes if they manage to win this game. So this is huge for them.
Yep. I agree. If they can pull this one off. By the way, if they pull this one off, Baltimore will have a fourth loss. That doesn't look good on them.
No. I mean, as good as I believe they are, you still have to win the damn games. So, you know,
Yeah. So I can't see them losing another one for a while. In fact, I could see them winning out. Like they're that good in my mind.
I agree. I agree. I'd have to, and we'll do that in the next week or two. Look at the schedules and see what we think exactly of some of these matchups. But it's hard to imagine. I can't imagine picking them anybody to beat them at home. And there's only a handful of teams I would pick them to lose to on the road.
Yep. I agree.
All
I'm
right.
good with that game. If you want to move on.
You got it, my man. Okay, here we go. So we are back in Europe, this time in Germany, for another 9:30 game. And this is the Giants, in quotes, at the Panthers.
Right. Not really.
Yeah. And if there's a game I care less about this week, I don't know what it is.
Right. Okay, well, full disclosure here, we mentioned this, and I meant to mention this off air, but I'll say it here. It's okay. I think that we've been getting kind of caught up in getting picking games, a lot of chalk games. At least I was, if I wasn't sure, I would go to see what Vegas said, and more often than not would go with that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I wanted to try to make a more of a conscious effort to pick a few more upsets. Just in general, nothing crazy, and not our upset pick that we do every week where we just pick one team that, not our official pick, but, who might win the game. I'm talking an official pick as an upset. We're going to try to do at least one a week.
Yes, and
And
I did that as well this week. And by the way, real quick, Craig, I forgot my old school version of our upset pick is the Bengals.
oh, okay, perfect. Yep, yep. All right. Mine hasn't happened yet, but so in respect to that, and I think that I was on the fence on this game anyway. I'm picking Carolina to pull this one off, 21-16, because the Giants stink
Yeah, they really do.
and Carolina stinks. And when there's two teams that stink, anybody can beat anybody. So why not?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I considered this one, but I ended
And by
up
the
going.
way, oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No,
Al.
please, please.
Moving forward from this week on, we're going to continue to pick this one, pick one or two upsets per week as our official picks, but we're not going to mention that, oh, it's part of this thing we're trying to do. We're just going to pick it as, as normal.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. Absolutely, perfect, perfect. Okay, so yeah, listen. Another weird factor of this game is the whole having to go to Europe thing. Anything can happen in these games. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I just went with the Giants because when I was looking at what team, because both of these teams stink, but the Giants, at least among them, have one thing they can hang their hat on, which is that defensive line.
Yep.
Um, and you look at their defensive ratings. The Panthers have the 25th ranked rush D and the 32nd ranked pass D.
Yep.
The Giants have the 29th ranked rush D, stinks, but they have the ninth ranked pass D because of that defensive line.
Yes, they
So
do.
it's not going to help Bryce Young be better than his awful self. So I'm going to stick with the Giants, but I'm with you. Anything can happen because both teams are awful. And the Panthers do have one thing they can hang their hat on, and that's been their rush game with Chuba Hubbard. He's been a revelation this year. I don't know where he was his first few years of his career, but I mean, all of a sudden it's the worst Panther team that in his 3 years in the league, and he's tearing it up all of a sudden. So
Yeah, he's playing well.
yeah, he really is fascinating. So yeah, I'm going Giants 23-13.
Yep. And the fact that they haven't decided between Bryce Young and Andy Dalton has no bearing on whether I think they're going to win or not.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. I am with you there too, 100%. I don't care which one plays. That's awesome. Okay. Well, we talked about a team struggling in the previous podcast really badly the last couple weeks, and they have a chance to get right this week. Patriots at Bears.
The Bears, what is going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
They started out kind of slow. We were expecting that, and then they picked it up, and we're like, okay, here we go.
I thought they were rounding into form. I'm with you.
And then nothing.
Nothing
Back to crap. The last few games.
for real.
Having said all that, they are home.
Yeah.
New England also stinks.
Yes,
They got Drake May. That's exciting, but Chicago absolutely positively needs this game. They need this to win. They have to win this game.
I agree.
They have to be in like desperation mode to win this. Because if not, their season is spiraling out of control.
Yep.
So I have the Bears, but I'm not giving them too much credit. I'm going 27-20 Bears.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we not surprisingly we are of like mind. I mean the one factor that can win this game is Drake May playing awesome and not turning the ball over. But I'm not going to pick it. No way. The Bears, like you said, for this season to mean anything as far as the playoffs, they have to win this game. They don't feel like a playoff team, but their record says they still are in it, so they have to win. Um, This is huge for the Caleb Williams watch too. I mean, it's been a fascinating season so far. I mean, I really thought 2 weeks ago he was heading towards, ascending big time, and then he just dropped back to really bad the last 2 games in a row. So I don't know what to make of him. This is a big one for them. I'm going Bears, and you said 2017. I'm going 1916.
Well, I said 27-20.
Oh, 27
27
20.
20.
I'm sorry. Okay. 1916 for me.
All right. Yeah, I agree with everything you said.
Right on. Right on. All right. Well, let's get out of that game and move to a very interesting game. This is a game I'd like to watch if I can. I'm not sure if I can, but that is the 49ers at the Buccaneers.
Oh, okay. Threw me for a loop. All right. Well, it's a game I'd like to watch. Oh man, I don't know what to think. This was a tough one to pick
I agree.
because it's in Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Very tough for me. Um, huh.
And I'll say real quick, Craig, it got even tougher for me after they played the Chiefs really tough last night.
Yeah, they played them really tough last night. Exactly, and and now they're at home, and these are two 4-4 teams. Um, Christian McCaffrey returned to practice on Monday for the first time, and they're saying he could make his season debut in this game, Week 10.
That's one of the most fascinating mysteries. It has been so hush hush on Christian McCaffrey ever since he went to Germany and got injections or whatever. There has not been anything come out. So I'm fascinated. I know people that think he's not going to play until next year, and people that are convinced he's playing this week. I don't know.
Well, it's causing me to have a caveat.
Right on. Okay, great.
If he plays, I got the Niners 20-17. If he doesn't, I'm actually going Tampa. If he doesn't play, I have Tampa 23-20. A lot of that has to do with how well they played last night.
Yeah, and I totally understand that, man. I do. That they played a good team, very tough and very impressive. And Baker just keeps impressing me. Part of me still keeps expecting to see the Baker from the previous 6 years, prior to last year, but it's not. He's a real player now, and he's gritty, gutty. He'll stick his helmet down and try and run over a guy, even though he can't run over anybody in this league, but he'll try.
Right, right,
and
right.
I really enjoy watching him play. And to do it without these weapons, to play well without these weapons, is we just talked about how hard it's been for Stroud and Jalen Hurts earlier this year, and a lot of quarterbacks struggle when their weapons are out.
Yeah,
And
is there any word on Mike Evans?
no. Well, actually, let me look while we're talking. I haven't heard anything that indicated that he was on my radar for him to play this week, but let me just make sure because that doesn't really mean anything. What do we got, Mike Evans? Yeah, just cryptic stuff. Will
Okay,
will he return this week? Kind of headlines.
okay.
Yeah, but that's a big one too. I mean, if he comes back and McCaffrey doesn't play, then I might regret the pick I'm about to give you.
Huh.
um, which is the 49ers 29-24. I keep expecting the Niners every time they win a game to this is when they're finally back to the old Niners. Now McCaffrey returning could be the final, nail
Yeah,
in that.
that'll be definitive. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I will say Purdy's been really up and down this year. It's been maybe his worst season as a pro. So I don't know if McCaffrey fixes that.
Yep.
Although he played great last week. So you know what I mean? I don't know. This is a tough one. This is a real tough one, but I'm going Niners 29-24, and kind of rooting for the Bucks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Nice. All right. Then we go over to the AFC West, Broncos at Chiefs. And tell me where you're going to find a game, two over 500 teams where one of them is favored by 10 points.
It tells you what people think in Denver.
Mm-hmm. It really
Well, we
does.
we we are in agreement with them,
We are.
especially after last week. Forget about it.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm with you 100%. So you take it first on this guy.
Well, Chiefs. Let me see here if I can. call up my stuff on that game. Well, anyway, regardless, I like the way finally how Mahomes played last night. He looked a lot like Mahomes to me.
Yeah, I agree.
He looked a lot better. He had a solid as a rock game. And I got a feeling that Hopkins is really going to make a big difference. I mean, he already has made a difference, last night. But I think over the course of the season, he's going to make a big difference. And Kelsey, if you can get back going again, I think it's a matter of just making a concerted effort to keep Kelsey in the game. Because if not, he kind of disappears now. He never used to disappear before, but now he does.
Well, I think part of it, and go back and listen to his post game press or his post game interview last night on the field. I think part of it was entirely intentional by the Chiefs to keep him healthy for the playoffs.
Right, right. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's it way more than anything else. Honestly, I know he's been bracketed, especially when after Rice went out for the year. He's been really covered a lot, but the dude got 14 catches last night when they were doing the same thing they've done to him all season. Most teams, so you know,
Yeah,
I'm with you. When they decide it's time for him to get 14 catches, he gets 14 catches.
exactly. So, having said all that, I do like how Bo Nix is playing a little better too. He's getting better. It seems like what we were saying about Caleb Williams before is Bo Nix seems to be getting better each game as well.
Mhm.
Um, but this is in Kansas City. There's no scenario where you can pick Denver, in my opinion. So I got Kansas City 27-17.
Right on. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Same. I've been overwhelmingly impressed by what Sean Payton and Bo Nix have done so far with that Bronco team. It's incredibly impressive. I also don't really believe they're as good as their record, and certainly not in the same ballpark as the Chiefs on the road. 30-16 Chiefs. And I want to echo what you said 100% about the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. That guy could end up with a full season worth of stats in whatever 8 or 9 games he's going to play in Kansas City. I mean, he
Yeah,
is going to fill up that stat sheet because they don't have a whole lot of good options anyway, and he's great.
yes, he is.
All right. Anything else on that one before we move on?
Let's move on.
Let's do it. Okay. Bills at Colts. And so far as I hear, they're sticking with Flacco so far. Doesn't really matter to me in my pick, but it's interesting to keep an eye on.
Okay, Keon Coleman has a wrist injury. He's getting further testing done on it. He's been Buffalo's leading receiver.
Yeah, that won't help them. Definitely.
No, no, but they're still the superior team. Colts, they're just a meddling team. We talked about it in the review. A 500 team or so, about 7 wins is what we were thinking. 7, 8 wins. Um, so in the Bills, they're in the driver's seat in the AFC East, and they're just a better team. I know it's on the road, but I'm still going Buffalo. I'm going to go 28-20 Buffalo. Another thing too is Josh Allen's playing really well.
Yeah, I absolutely,
After
absolutely.
Lamar, he's still my MVP after Lamar.
Oh, let me think about that. To me, I'd have to look at stats, but to me, it's between him and Jalen Daniels after that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's. I mean, he's had a heck of a season, and for a guy who's had a lot of turnovers in his career, he's really seemed to make an effort on that this season because
Oh
he's,
yeah, the
you know,
turnovers are gone for
yep,
Allen.
yeah, very impressive, very impressive. I want to look too real quick as we're talking to see if there's any Amari Cooper update yet because he missed last week with that wrist injury. And if they're missing both him and Keon Coleman, that's no insignificant thing.
Yeah.
And remember, Josh Allen had that one game where I compared his stats to Tim Tebow when before they had Cooper and one of their receivers was down.
Yep.
So let me just see here about that real quick before I give my official pick.
All right.
And I just hit Google Images, which doesn't help when you're trying to find news. Oh, here's a headline that says Amari Cooper will play in Week 9, so let's not use that source.
No, they were wrong.
Okay, as of now, it's unknown whether he'll play this week. So,
Okay.
So anyway, all
Is
right.
it
So
enough for you to caveat?
I'm not going to. I'm not going to. Although,
Me neither.
yeah, yeah. If the Colts had a good, if Flacco had just had one of his big Flacco games, I might hesitate a little bit. But no, I'm going to pick the Bills. I just think they're in a different class of team. Um, Taking the Bills 26-19, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cook and Ray Davis combined for 175 yards or more of rushing this week.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. So what was the score? I'm sorry.
Oh, 26-19.
26-19. Ray Davis.
Keep your eye on that dude, and it's gonna suck for fantasy. It's all right but it's gonna suck for fantasy because they now have two, in my opinion, anyway. They have two really good running backs, and that's gonna get annoying. But Ray Davis is a player. Ray Davis is a player. All right,
All right.
now let's go next to maybe the game of the week. Definitely one of the contenders. Steelers at Commanders.
Okay. This is a good game.
Heck yeah.
Definitely a good game. Some I'm definitely interested to see. Um, the Jaden Daniels Express just rolls on here,
He's playing
and yeah,
unbelievably well.
yes, he has. So they're at home, and I know Pittsburgh is coming off the bye, and they're playing pretty well. They're playing well. They definitely have the sight on their quarterback now, and Russell's playing well. We got to give him credit. He is definitely playing well.
No doubt.
But right now, I can't pick against Washington at home
Uh,
against a team that is probably their equal. I would say, like Washington and Pittsburgh, kind of in my mind, are about the same in terms of what I think of them.
yeah,
I think highly of both of them for sure.
I agree.
And I'm going with the home team just because of that. It's hard to decide. So I'm going home team. I'm going Washington 24-21.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, listen, this is the last time I'll ever mention our new thing. This is the one I picked the upset on. All right. And that's the last time I'll ever say anything about it. And I wanted to pick it. So I'm glad we decided to do this because this is a fascinating game.
Yeah.
I agree with what you said about looking at these teams very similarly, both upper echelon teams for sure. However, having said that, wildly different in how they get it done. You know what
Oh
I mean?
yes.
It's a fascinating matchup because you got that great Steelers D. You have
The questionable Washington D.
the questionable Washington D, the killer Washington offense. By the way, Brian Robinson missed last week, and I don't know if he's coming back this week. I should look at that while we're talking too, because that's Now listen, we both love Eckler, but I think they're better with both. You know what I mean?
Right. And
Um,
It's not like Eckler went off.
no, he didn't.
So
Didn't, which surprised me a little bit, honestly.
I mean, he had an okay game.
Yeah,
He was involved, but he was not doing anything special.
yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It doesn't look like there's anything out yet on Robinson. No, nothing's going to help us yet. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so all that being said, and by the way, another guy that's really stepped up for the Steelers in the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks is Najee Harris. A lot of guys want to bury Najee Harris, and I've been guilty of being one of them because honestly, for most of last year, I thought Jalen Warren was a better player.
Me
Uh,
too.
However, this year it's been a very different story. Najee Harris, I don't know if that got into him in his head in the offseason and he worked harder or if he's just getting better as he gets more used to the NFL, but he's looked really good for the last half of this season. And that's a big factor. And Warren, I think, is coming back this week. So they have both of them. So,
Yep.
yeah, and that feeds into that matchup against the Commanders. So I'm going to go Steelers, and I'm going to go 27-24.
Okay. We both got some close games there.
No doubt, no doubt. This is I think this is game of the week probably. I really want to see this game, so I'm hoping it's on in my home market, which it should be because I usually get Steelers and Commanders games at times annoyingly. All right, now we can move on to the next one, and this one, Vikings at Jaguars.
Vikings, Jags. Well, the Jags fought the good fight last week.
They did.
and they showed me a little something, which is good, which was good to see.
Yes, agreed.
Um, but Minnesota kind of solidified their place at the top of the league as well with their big win that they kind of needed to do to just kind of calm everybody's nerves a little bit about what they really are. So if they really are that team, they should win this game,
Absolutely.
even in Jacksonville. So I'm going 26-23 Minnesota.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yes. Yeah, the Jags fought tough last week. Now, part of the reason they were able to do that is because Nick Sirianni kicked the door open for them. So I'm not going to give them quite as much credit for Nick Sirianni being stupid. So, although I do respect the fight that they showed, I just think Sirianni left that door ajar. So I'm gonna pick a little bigger win for the Vikings, 31-15. And how close this game is going to tell me a lot about where the Jaguars are. If they get smoked in this game, calling it right now, Doug Peterson gets fired. If they lose and it's semi close, I think he survives another week or two.
Yep. By the way, Jacksonville's my upset pick.
Oh, nice. All right.
The old school upset that we always pick every week. Not
I
our
like that.
official pick. That's the difference. It's not my official pick, but if I'm going to pick one that to be an upset against what I actually picked, it's Jacksonville.
Right on. No, I like that. I like that. I would love to see that too because it would help the birds with seeding.
Yep. And they played well last week, so I'm kind of going off of that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And by the way, another thing to feed in, I forgot to mention to feed into you're picking it as an upset, is both Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne. So Etienne had been out for weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, came back last week in a limited fashion, only had 3 carries, but he looked okay when he was in there. And Bigsby was on the injury report. They were both questionable all week and both played, but both were dinged up. So, assuming they're both a little healthier this week, they have their top two guys ready to rumble. So that could help them too in their efforts for your upset.
Yep.
All right. Now, next game, Falcons at Saints. And I just want to say real quick, no Chris Olave is the assumption, and I don't think anybody thinks otherwise after fifth concussion. So
Right.
they are down weapons big time.
What about Drake London, though?
Drake London, we saw is day to day, and we
Yep.
won't know. So,
So we don't know. I'm
yes,
not going to caveat it, but that's a big one if he doesn't play.
it is a big one. But I will say this real quick before you go to town. Uh, Darnell Mooney is better than 10 times better than anything the Saints have left after Olave.
Agreed. Agreed. And the Saints, so the Saints, they stink.
Yes.
Seven in a row they've lost. This is going to be 8 in a row. Atlanta is taking control of this division. It's theirs to lose. They are not losing this game. They can't lose this game. Atlanta 34-24, and 24 might be a little generous on my part.
Love it, man. I agree with everything you said. I'll tell you, this was what I like to do is I'll pick the game before I look at the point spread and then see if I agree with Vegas. You know what I mean? And
Yep,
sometimes I'll make an adjustment if I'm off. Well, this was the most surprising point spread of the week to me that the Falcons are only favored by 2.5 points in this one. That was
that's crazy.
you agree on that? Okay. I that stunned me. So maybe part of that's Drake London. I don't know. But weaponless Saints, other than Alvin Kamara, who has just been a one man wrecking crew. But I mean, name a starting receiver for this. Who's going to start at receiver for the Saints this week? I'd
No
have to.
idea.
Yeah. I mean, wow. So anyway, all that being said, I'm going Atlanta and I'm going huge, 35-9.
Okay, one question.
Yes.
The coach firing first week of the new coach bump,
The new coach bump. Yes.
does
Good.
that
Good
play
point.
into anything?
You know, and maybe I should give it more of a factor, but I just think they're so damn bad. It's hard to imagine how this guy could do much of anything. Now we've seen enough of these first coach bumps in similarly dire circumstances across the years that maybe I'm not giving it nearly enough credit. It just looks so much like just an easy blowout call to me. But maybe that's the Vegas. Maybe Vegas is factoring that in too with this 2.5 point spread.
Well, I mean, like you said, we've seen it. That's the thing is, it's not like something we're just pulling out of thin air.
No, it
We've
happens
seen it
for sure. It's
repeatedly,
it's real.
and not only just a bump, an actual win. Sometimes, a lot of the time too.
No doubt, no doubt. Now, Whew.
Jeff Saturday coming out of the booth and getting a win in his first game, and then I don't think he won another game the rest of the way.
Oh,
But it's that first game.
he thought he was taking over the world after that first game, man. And then he didn't win another game, I don't think, in the NFL.
Yeah. Antonio Pierce, same thing.
Yeah, man. And Pierce had a decent, that's why he came back. He ended up somewhere around 500 with this horrible team. So,
Yeah.
I was very impressed with him last year. Nothing doing this year. Nothing
Yeah.
doing.
But
Amazing.
yeah, I'm still going Atlanta, but I wanted to make note of that, the new coach
I'm glad you brought it
aspect.
up. Yeah, because that's definitely we've talked about it before. I believe in it for sure. I know you do too. It's a real thing. It's a factor.
Yeah.
Now, I will say
The evidence is there.
the evidence is there. Now, how many of those first game coaching bumps have come from special teams coordinators?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but it can't be any worse than pulling a guy out of the TV booth.
Yeah. 100%. At least this guy has been on an NFL sideline.
He wasn't even in the booth. Wasn't he just in the studio for ESPN?
He was an ESPN talking head, and he had never been a coach on a sideline on game day.
Yep. And yeah, he wasn't even at the games like doing the games. He was actually just analyzing in Bristol.
Exactly, exactly. You got it. He
And
was
which you went right back to doing.
Yeah, right. That's so funny, man. Yeah, I guess he got out quickly enough not to lose all credibility. Unlike who's remember when Matt Millen was the darling of the play by play world. Everybody people were calling him the next John Madden at one point. I remember. Then he became the worst GM in the history of football and has never resurfaced. He lost all credibility. Oh man. All right. Now, where does that leave us? Okay, here we go. Um, is this our last? No, we have a couple more. Okay, we're on the 4 o'clock games now, and this is the first one: Titans at Chargers.
All right, Titans are terrible, and it
Yes,
just
and
keeps getting worse for them. Starting safety, the safety quandary. Diggs had a
boom,
season-ending Lisfranc injury. He's headed
Boyd
to
Cushenberry, their
IR.
starting center, also Achilles out for the year.
Will require surgery. Yep, out for the year. The center, Cushenberry. And Levis is hopeful to return this week, which is probably worse for them if he plays.
I completely agree.
So, all that, to me, I don't care that it. Oh, and they're on the road? I
Yeah,
have to go to.
yep.
I thought they were home for some
Nope.
reason. They're on the road? Oh, yeah, this could be. I'm actually changing the score that I have here. I'm changing the score to be a bigger score. All right, the Chargers have been solid, and I think we can safely say, what's his face, their quarterback. What can't I think of it?
Justin Herbert.
Yes, Herbert is playing his best since his rookie year.
He's playing great. I mean, I've always thought he was a very good player, and I don't know if I would go that far, but he's playing great.
Yeah, he's playing very, very good, and he hasn't thrown. He's cut down on the interceptions,
Yeah, for sure.
and you love his coach. So I had it 27-13 Chargers, but I'm going 38-13.
I love it. I love it, and it makes sense to me. um, yeah. Listen, I echo everything you said. It's the Titans are a mess. They were a bad team before they lost 2 starters this week. And if Will Levis does indeed play, they're even worse.
This might be the easiest game to pick this week.
I thought so too. I completely agree, and I'm picking a big score too. I'm going 28-8.
I like the 8. I like that.
Yeah. That's a garbage time touchdown with under 2 minutes left, and they go for two. All right, man. And by the way, Chargers, of all the teams I did not pick to make the playoffs this year, they might be the most impressive.
Yeah, agreed. I agree.
Yeah, just one hell of a coaching job by Harbaugh in his rookie year back in the NFL. Back in the NFL. All right, next game, and this was another. What was the other game we were saying was hard to pick? Um,
That was San
49ers and
Francisco,
Bucks.
Tampa Bay.
Yes. Well, this one's right there with it, my man, and that is the Jets at the Cardinals.
Yeah, how the hell are you going to pick this?
Woo, buddy. I'll let you tell me first.
I Man, I went back and forth on this.
Me too.
This is a tough one. The Cardinals made a move, but so did the Jets. But we'll get to that at the end.
Yes.
Um, by the way, Morgan Moses, he came back, but he's still dealing with, according to him, a grade 2 MCL tear,
Good Lord.
a meniscus damage, and a small fracture.
What a tough son of a gun. Holy crap. Well, it would be hard to predict him lasting all season based on that.
Yeah. Is there any chance the Jets can start to turn this around?
I'm wondering the same thing.
Because if there is, they win this game.
Right on.
But Arizona is a fascinating team that we can't figure out. Every time we think we got a little handle on them, they do the exact opposite.
Yeah,
They get
throw it.
blown out, and when we get behind them, they get blown out. When we get down on them, they win big.
Yep.
So I don't,
It's a
I
tough
don't
one, man.
know. It depends on what Arizona we get, but I'm just going to go with the fact that I had the Jets having a decent year this year, and if they're going to have a decent year, they got to win this game and get back on track a little bit. And maybe this is the case. So I'm going to go Jets 24-20. Don't feel good about it even a little.
I love it, man. I love it. You know, it's funny because this is one game I thought we might be different on, and I'm going to break out some stats and tell you why I went where I went. So I'm with you. The Jets, almost like the 49ers, seeming like they were breaking out at times. Maybe this is fool's gold, but. I was so impressed with like Rodgers looked like Aaron Rodgers of old for the first time
Yes,
all year.
he did.
He played incredibly well. He has the chemistry with his two top receivers kicking big time. And by the way, I wanted to mention this too. I think the fact that Alan Lazard was out with an injury, and I'm not never root for anybody getting hurt. I hope he's okay, and I hope he comes back as soon as possible. But I think that forced him to not throw the damn ball to Alan Lazard so much and focus on the two guys that he should be throwing the ball more to, and it was very successful. So let's see if that continues moving forward. Here's where I'm differentiating and why I'm picking who I'm picking. Cardinals have the 22nd ranked rush D and the 24th ranked pass D. So while they are over 500 and they are a tough team to figure, that is eventually going to catch up to them, I would think. The Jets 21st ranked rush D, not awesome at all, but they do have the second ranked pass D. So they at least have something on defense that they can hang their hat on and played very well last week. So
Yep.
I'm leaning on the Jets too, man. This may be the beginning of their coming out party, or maybe they still stink. I don't know. The Cardinals will probably end up winning this game 50-2, but I'm going Jets 28-24.
I'm right there with you.
Right.
We'll have to see. They continue to be a very interesting team.
No doubt. That's a good way to put it. Good way to put it. And go back and listen to our recap from last week if you haven't to see how the stats, or just pull up a box score and look at the stats of Arizona's win last week to hammer home how they're so mystifying, because that did not look like a team that was going to win a game, let alone win it handily.
Yeah, it was weird.
Oh man! All right, buddy. Here we go. It's our teams. Last of the 4 o'clockers. Eagles at Cowboys. Cooper Rush has been announced as the starting quarterback. You go ahead.
Well, I was gonna get into what the status of AJ Brown is and this and that, and try to analyze a little bit. This doesn't require a whole lot of analyzing. Um, Dallas is done. They have been I mean, I had my reservations early anyway when they were at full strength, but they are anything but full strength now. They have been absolutely decimated with injuries, especially on defense, but now even on offense with Dak and CD. I would not play. I honestly, I wouldn't play CD this game. Why? What's the point? Why would you play him?
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's so hard to sit a guy like that, but I know what you mean, especially you factor in the crappy quarter,
He's yeah, the crappy quarterback, and he's hurt.
and he's hurt. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, there was times during that game on Sunday where he was like doubling over, holding his shoulder on the field while he was playing.
Yeah, it did not look good. It really didn't. And yeah,
Get him off the field. Just give him a week.
and
I'm not
honestly,
saying you bench him the rest of the way. Just give him a week.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I really am. And this AC joint thing, which seems to be the injury of the year. Like every year, a new injury comes along that I've never heard of, and the AC joint thing had affected Jordan Mason for a month.
Yeah. So yeah, there's no reason to play CD. I know Parsons is apparently coming back. That's great and all, but I mean, we Diggs is playing with a tear in his calf. I'm not sure on Bland if he's coming back or not. But you lose one, and you get one back, and you lose another one.
No doubt, no doubt.
And
Yeah,
Diggs was definitely clearly hobbled against Atlanta. No doubt about it. You could see it.
yeah, they're a mess. They're just
Yeah. So this is an easy Philadelphia win, man. Philadelphia's playing well. Dallas isn't playing well at home for some reason. Again, one of those weird things in the NFL. They couldn't lose last year at home. Now they can't win at home.
so strange.
So I'm going 31-14. I think this is a easily handled game. Cooper Rush is in big trouble, partially because he's Cooper Rush. Um,
Love it.
and next to the Chargers game against Tennessee, this is the second easiest game to pick. The only thing that gives me a slight reservation as it not being the easiest game is it is a division game, and those tend to be a little closer regardless.
No doubt about that. I'm with you there. I'm with you. This until the Dak Prescott news came out, this game was making me really nervous.
Yeah, but
Um,
not anymore.
Not anymore. Um, yeah, there's just no way to pick the Cowboys in this game, and I'm not going to. I don't remember the last time, by the way, either the Eagles or the Cowboys were favored by 10.5 points over the other one.
Well, yeah, but it makes perfect sense now.
It certainly does. It certainly does. So I talked about the Eagles' defensive rankings in the last pod. Just to reiterate that real quick, they are the seventh ranked pass D and the fifth ranked rush D right now. Which Vic Fangio is going to get a statue if he keeps that going. Um, the Cowboys, on the other hand, are the 18th ranked pass D and the 30th ranked rush D. Which I am projecting Barkley to run for 572 yards this week.
No, actually, I bet you they handle them. I
Wouldn't
bet
that
you
be funny?
because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that would.
Seriously, I bet you I would. I'm going to put money on it. I'll put money on it on DraftKings or whatever under 100 yards for Barkley
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's priceless.
because
Yeah.
that's the kind of stupid shit they do, and that's the NFL, and it doesn't make sense. So why? So that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, there's always the possibility that Sirianni will make that easier by doing something weird too. Now, with Sirianni in mind, I'm picking an odd score total because God knows how many times he'll go for two when he shouldn't. So I don't remember seeing anybody score 32 points very often in the NFL. So that's what I'm going to pick for the Birds, 32-19.
All right. Yeah, there's no way. So got an easy one this week.
Fascinating, man. And I never would have thought that at the beginning of the season. Never would have thought that. All right, my man. Let's move on to Sunday night. And this is maybe the other candidate for game of the week. And that is the Lions at the Texans.
Well, the thing is it though? I'm starting to sour on Houston. Um, I was completely mystified last week when the talking heads around here in New York Sports Talk Radio was talking about the Jets were entering the easy part of their schedule, starting with Houston, and I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
That's wild.
And they won the game, and they kind of ho hummed it, and kind of like I said, they were expecting it. They don't buy into Houston. They didn't buy into Houston one bit as a viable threat against the Jets at all.
That's really weird.
Yeah, that is really weird.
Especially given that Houston was favored in that game by Vegas.
Yes, but they were expecting it. They all picked the Jets to win, and they did. And then afterwards, they were like, "Houston's the fakest one of the worst 6-2 teams, or whatever the hell they were." But regardless, I don't know if they're one of the worst 6-2 teams or 6-3 teams, but they're playing a team that's a buzzsaw right now.
No
Best team
doubt.
in the NFL, in my opinion. Detroit 35, Houston 29. I gave them some credit uh, because Nico Collins should be back. If Nico Collins doesn't come back, I won't caveat it, but I would expect the Houston not to be able to score 29. But with Collins back, Stroud is just, I don't know what's going on, man. He just does not look the same. He's making some bad decisions and making big time mistakes. But regardless, Detroit, like I said, they're a buzzsaw. 35-29. I can't see how Houston's going to stop them.
Yeah, this is fascinating. This is I'm not going to caveat, but this is huge whether Nico Collins plays or not. And as of now, there's nothing definitive. Um, if I'm trying to read the tea leaves on what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like he's going to play, honestly. But that's just total guessing on my part. They were all fired up last week saying he's almost back, and now D'Amico Ryans is being really vague. So I don't know. I don't know. But I understand where you're coming from with the Texans, and they have issues. They've lost two starters on the offensive line and two starting receivers.
Yep.
And if they get Collins back, he is a good enough one receiver to make all the difference in the world. Let's not forget what Jalen Hurts looked like for a week or two without Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, and now for 4 weeks in a row, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in football. So this stuff matters. It's not just oh, he should suck it up and be better without his best players. It matters. So, and when you look at who was on the field last week, I mean, Tank Dell's a good player, but then he's throwing to John Mechie, who has played about 6 downs since he played in Alabama. And I couldn't even tell you a name of another receiver that he was working with last week.
Plus, but their offensive line is really bad, too. They worked out 4 new offensive linemen this week.
And that's because of injury. They
Yes.
were, but their offensive line is very good at run blocking. So,
Yes, mixing and still get it done.
yeah, they're awful at pass protection. So, all that being said, I don't think the Texans have the tools to take advantage of the one thing the Lions are bad at with their 29th ranked pass defense,
Yep.
especially if Nico Collins is out. And even if he's back, it's his first game back. So I'm picking the Lions. This score was based on Collins playing 26-23. I won't caveat it like you said, but if Collins is out, 26-10.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And they are a buzzsaw right now.
They really are. They really are. I'm excited to see them play a team that forces them to address their one bad issue. I can't wait to see it because I want to see if they can handle it or not. It's because they're in the discussion for the best team in football right now for sure. So
Yep.
all right, my man. Okay, now what do we have left? Monday night, Dolphins at Rams.
All right. Well, the Dolphins are on the road here. They haven't been playing well, even with Tua back. Um, have they won a game since he's been back?
No, but didn't they? Didn't they just take the Bills to overtime? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they did.
So that's impressive, somewhat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the Rams are flying high now with their weapons back, and we were high on them when they were at full strength early in the year, and they're at home. So, I'm going to pick this game. I'm going to pick the Rams to win this game. I mean, 28-21 for the Rams, and yeah, they're just playing really, really well. And I like what I'm seeing with them. They've won what, 3 in a row? Is it?
Yes, correct, correct.
Yeah, they're on a heater for sure.
No doubt about it. Very impressive lately, man. And since they got their weapons back, and they did that without Puka for most of that game because he punched a guy in the helmet.
Yeah,
Um,
is he going to get suspended again for next week, or
I
is
heard
he?
nothing about that, and it was a pretty lame punch. Like it barely, it was it was like a it certainly barely caught the guy's attention who took the punch. You know what I mean? So it wasn't
Right,
like
right.
that guy got hurt or anything. So I haven't heard a whisper about it. So I'd be surprised, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
All right. So
Um,
that's what I've got. I got the Rams 28-21.
okay, cool, cool. Uh, Now I'm desperately trying to pull this up while I'm talking. The Rams. I just want to see how many points the Rams have given up on this win streak. because they are prone to some shootouts. Yeah, the only team they've kept under 20 points for since the Texans beat them 17-15. Oh no, that's the preseason. The only team they've kept under 20 points all season is the Raiders.
Who is this?
The Rams.
Wow.
Right. So, um that's the I'm now. I am still very impressed with them, and I'm high on them. Their young pass rusher draft picks have been taken off lately. Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, I think it's pronounced. So I think that defense might be getting a little better, but it hasn't been great. So it's got to get a lot better. But I am picking them to win because I believe they are going to ascend and possibly make the playoffs this year. But I'm picking them in a shootout, 38-34 Rams.
I love it. 38-34. That would be a fun game.
I'm hoping, man. Monday Night Football, wouldn't that be awesome? Tariq Hill goes over 100 yards for the first time since week 1 or whatever it's been.
Awesome. Oh, you know what? I know you said it, but I didn't write down. Who was your upset pick? You're the old school
Yes,
upset?
the Bengals over the Ravens on Thursday night.
Right. That's right. Okay. Well, there
All
we
right.
have it.
Beautiful, dude. Another week of predictions. We'll see how we do. Now,
Yes.
do you want to hit these true and false real quick before we go trade deadline crazy?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Now, I've been waiting to bring this one up for a little while. And since Dennis Allen got canned, I have a chance to do it. So here's the true or false. Bill Belichick will be the coach of the Saints next year.
False.
I agree. But I thought it would be a fun opportunity to bring up and discuss who he will be coaching for next season.
Because he will coach next year,
100%.
but he's not going into a situation that's real bad. He needs to go in a situation that has potential.
I agree. I agree 100%. So who would you, if you had to pick right now, do you have anybody in mind?
Uh,
I have one.
uh, you. Yeah, he's gonna coach Dallas.
That's mine too. That is mine too.
That's what's gonna happen. Because that's the most Dallas thing you can do. That's Jerry Jones just getting all excited. Uh,
That's exactly what I was going to say. Now, the interesting part there is Belichick hasn't coached without some kind of GM power for almost 30 years or 20 since the early 2000s.
right.
And Jerry Jones hasn't given up GM power since he fired Jimmy Johnson. So,
Well, the thing is, yes, he's the GM. Obviously, he's on the radio and all that shit. But in their drafts and stuff, that is a team effort. Because I've seen their war rooms, and back when I was, well, not back. I still listen, but I don't listen as devoutly as I used to. Listening to their podcasts and stuff, and they would always argue with fans about Jerry, the GM, saying that yes, he's the official GM, but there's a lot of input from a lot of different people.
yes, which is seems to be various points successful and not successful. But
Yes, but their
regardless,
drafts have always been pretty good, actually.
yes, but their free agency and their contract signing has been
Been
bottom of
horrible,
the
but
list.
and that's more him. So I think what they would the way that they can entice Belichick, and even though I don't want him, ugh, the way it's going to work, I think, is you will be part of the process, part of the team, part of the decision making, but not 100%. You don't have full reign over everything, but you're going to be involved in all of it.
Yeah, and I'm curious if that's something he would be willing to accept, and if there's any
I
team
think
out
I
there at this point that would be willing to give him the power he used to have. I don't know if that
right.
if
I
that's
don't.
their point.
That's the thing is I another reason why I think it's going to happen is because I don't think anybody's willing to give him full reign anymore
Yeah,
at
now
all. No one.
maybe well, maybe there's always the Raiders.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm
But
with
they're
you.
not.
I
But
don't think
They
any
don't have.
rush-minded
They're
team
not good
will.
enough.
Say that again.
They're too far away.
Yes, and yeah, I agree. I agree, and I'm with you. My nightmare scenario. First of all, that was the team I was going to say, and I would kind of it would be a riot if they went right from Mike McCarthy, who I have very little respect for, to Bill Belichick, who I have respect for, but not don't think he's going to be a difference maker anymore at this point in his career. Um, But my nightmare scenario is if, like we were talking about in the previous podcast, if Sirianni does something, his oddities and stupidities add up to him getting fired, even though the Eagles make the playoffs this year, and then they bring in Belichick.
That would be great. I would love to be wrong on this. By the way, I don't want him, but that, but you asked me the question, and I just, I'm just it's what I feel. It's what it looks like to me is that he's coming to the Cowboys. He's
I'm
already
with
been linked to them.
I'm with you.
He could talk to his buddy Parcells about Jerry,
Right, right. Yep.
and he probably will, to be
No doubt.
honest.
No doubt.
And because Parcells came over and he didn't have full power, and he used to.
No doubt. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So yeah, I'm with you. That's why I picked it too, because I could see it happening. It's crazy, but I can see it happening. Oh, I love it. All right. Next one. Now, the team I'm going to ask you about is currently sixth in the AFC. If the season ended today, it's a little tricky doing that because of the bye weeks, so it doesn't quite add up perfectly, but that's roughly where they would be. The Chargers will make the playoffs.
Yes,
My first inclination is yes, too, without diving heavily into the schedule. I'm with you.
yes, I like what they're doing. I like the fact that Herbert is starting to look viable again, and I'm going under the assumption of it just took a little while.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
know, with the limited preseason and the limited time, I think it just took a little bit for him to grasp everything, grasp the system, all that. And I think that now he has, and now it's all systems go.
I completely agree. I am fascinated by Harbaugh. I think he's absolutely. I would love to play for the guy, and
And it took Harbaugh a little bit too to get used to him.
no doubt. I mean, for a rookie, for a not a rookie coach because he's been in the league before, but for a first year head coach of I don't care if he's coming from another team in the NFL or coming from college, wherever. For a first year head coach to get his system in place and to look this good and this much like him this early on is impressive as all get out, man.
Yep.
Absolutely. So
Yep.
yeah, I would pick them to make the playoffs too if I had to right now. Absolutely.
All
All right.
right.
Now, this next one's a little more convoluted. I couldn't make a true or false out of it, but I wanted to ask this because it's getting to that time to start thinking about it. So I'm just going to ask it this way. There are uh, 7 teams that are currently tied at 2-7 for the worst team in the NFL right now. I want you to tell me which one you think is going to get the number one draft pick. And I'll give you the 7 teams: the Jaguars, the Browns, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Giants, the Saints, and the Panthers.
The Panthers.
It's between them and one other team for me, and that is the Raiders.
Yeah, the Giants are probably going to win a couple games. I know I picked the upset with Carolina, but they'll probably win this week. Um, we'll see. If Carolina does beat the Giants, then they might not be in contention anymore
No doubt.
because these other teams are not going to win a lot. That's for sure.
No doubt.
But
The other one high on my list with those two is the Saints,
yes, the Saints are high on the list as well.
barring that interim coach bump.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, there's a couple teams I expect not to be, and that's the Giants and the Jaguars. Because
Right, especially the Jags. I think they're both going to be top, 5 or 6 or something, but they're not going to be number one.
yeah, I think that defensive line and the emerging run game of the Giants is going to take them to a couple more wins than this other cluster. Kind of hope I'm wrong,
Right.
but
Yeah, no, they're going to win 5 games or something.
that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Yes, yes. Okay, cool. There's the true and falses. So you want to take over on the trade deadline talk, man?
Well, yeah, let's see what we got here. There was one right at the buzzer, but it's not all that. I mean, yeah, the Texans, Khalil Davis, their defensive tackle, went to the Niners, and the Niners were very vocal about needing a defensive tackle.
Yes, yes. And I don't know much about that guy, but I know they
Me
needed the
neither.
position, and
But
all
it
they gave
can't
up.
be that great because it's only just a seventh round pick, so
I
it's
was going
not
to
like
say I'm with you on that, and it's. I'll tell you what too. It's odd how little good players go for in these um if we go right to I can't say the dude's name, Zadarius Smith trade.
yep.
Now that dude has like 5 sacks already this year. He has 60 sacks over the last 10 years or whatever it's been. And they get him for a fifth round draft pick and a fifth and a sixth, giving a seventh back. Why wouldn't you do that if you're all these teams out there? You saw how much the Cowboys got out of trading a fifth round pick for Brandon Cooks and another fifth round pick for who was the corner?
Gilmore.
Thank you. They gave up one fifth round draft pick for the one guy and one fifth round draft pick for the other guy, and they were huge for them last year.
Yes, they were, especially Gilmore.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it surprises me how little teams have to give up for decent players. Now I'm with you. That defensive tackle, I don't think that's a big needle mover, but they needed a body.
Yeah. Now, one that I think is a big deal, Tre'Davious White to the Ravens
Oh, absolutely,
from
absolutely.
the Rams. Wow, the Ravens get stronger, I think, after getting Deontay Johnson and now Tre'Davious White.
No doubt, man. And they've had their rookie corner's been hurt a lot this year, Wiggins, and they've had a lot of corner injuries. What's his face has been hurt too. The really good player that used to be a Dolphin. I'm blanking on his name right now. I apologize. Marlon Humphrey.
Yep.
Um, and so yeah, absolutely. By the way, they got Tre'Davious White for allowing the Rams to move up to their seventh round draft pick. They swapped seventh rounders.
That's insane.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So, and now, well, that leads me right into maybe the biggest trade of the deadline and the best cornerback that got moved, and that is Marshawn Lattimore to the freaking Commanders, which really annoys me.
Yeah, they checked on DJ Reed too with the Jets.
I saw that,
They
man.
want
Yes.
they wanted him, but Lattimore to the Commanders. That's a big deal. They're I love them. I mean, I don't like it because I don't like the team and they're in our division and everything.
Same.
But just as a football fan, football observer here, objectively, that is a fantastic move for the Commanders.
I couldn't have said it any better. Agree a word for word with what you said. And on top of that, the most compensation involved in a trade today pretty easily. Um, Washington gets Lattimore and a fifth round pick. New Orleans gets a third, a fourth, and a sixth, which is they might as well have just backed up a Brinks truck full of gold with the prices on the market this trade deadline.
And the only other one I see of any note really is the Steelers getting Mike Williams from the Jets, which we kind of expected once they got Devontae Adams. We figured Mike Williams was going to be gone. But on that team, on a Steelers team, he might be able to do something. He might be viable again. I like that trade for the Steelers too.
I completely agree. And listen, and also on top of everything you just said, which again I agree with word for word, he is a perfect Russell Wilson type receiver. Remember
Yeah,
what we talked about with Pickens when even though I was really in the Josh Fields camp, um, the second they put in Russell Wilson, I started putting Pickens in my fantasy lineups, and he has been even better than the already good receiver he is with Russell under there. Russell loves guys that can win jump balls and know how to run around and scramble when he's scrambling too, and
yeah.
get themselves open. Mike Williams is one of the best 50-50 ball guys in the league since his time in the league. It's what he does better than anything that he does. So this is a really good match team wise too, I think. So yeah, great move for the Steelers because they don't have a lot of good receivers. They really don't, and this
Trade
adds a lot.
trade a fifth round pick for him sounds about right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what. And by the way, that's what Kansas City gave up to get DeAndre Hopkins.
That's insane. Oh my
Oh
god.
man. So okay. Now.
That that's all the big ones I see.
Mhm. Now, I do want to talk about the second most compensation given up today by any team, and that would be your guys picking up Jonathan Mingo
Huh.
for a fourth round pick.
I don't. Did he get him confused with somebody?
I think he thought he was getting Ringo, not Mingo. Ringo
I,
Starr, maybe.
I, how are the Chiefs giving up a fifth round pick for DeAndre Hopkins, and we're giving a fourth round pick for Mingo?
Dude, let me read you a tweet real quick, okay, from a guy named VOCH Lombardi. I don't know who he is. I don't know if he's a reporter or just a fan, but I thought this tweet was priceless and it was included in an article about what a stupid trade this was, which I'll get to eventually. I don't totally agree that this was a horrible trade, but let's work that side of it for a second. So here's the tweet. So Carolina traded their number one wide receiver to Baltimore, swapping a 5 and a 6, talking about the Deontay Johnson trade. Then Carolina traded their number 5 wide receiver, swapping a 4 and a 7. I thought that was funny the way that guy put it.
He's right.
Yeah, yeah. Now, here's where it's different. And I listen, I wouldn't have done this trade. No, not even. I think it's pretty silly trade, frankly. But the hope you have, if you're a Cowboy guy, is the part of the reason DeAndre and some of these other guys, I assume they're all free agents at the end of the season. I haven't double checked that, but I'm assuming. Do you know if I'm wrong in any instance?
I don't know for sure one way or the other.
Okay, so I think I'm right about that, but I'm not 100%. Jonathan Mingo was a second round draft pick last year. That means he's in year 2 of a 4-year contract with I think second round picks have club options. I think I could be wrong about that, but at least they have the rest of the season and 2 more seasons of this guy. So if you want to make a case for this trade, that's it right there. They get 2 more years of a guy who was thought highly enough to be a second round draft pick last year. Not in love with it myself, but there's the best case for you.
Right. Plus he's a young guy. He might just be figuring it out still, and you hope he can become something.
Yes, exactly. Now, the down if I want to be negative after being Mr. Positive for a second, he was 5th on the depth chart on the worst team in football.
Yep.
so there you go. There's the
But
pros and
number one in
cons.
our hearts.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm trying to see, do you have any other noteworthy trades that you were
I went over them all. That I think that's about all. There's nothing major, nothing else that caught my eye.
Let me just take a quick peek here and see if there's anything we're missing that's worth discussing. Oh, here's a weird one. Preston Smith got traded to the Steelers for not much, a 7th round draft pick.
Yep.
Um, but he was a starting defensive end for the
Right.
Packers.
But he's not going to start for the Steelers.
No, so the Packers give up a starter for nothing and trade him to a team who he's just going to be a rotational piece. Isn't that odd?
Yeah, it is an odd trade, but I don't think it moves the needle one way or the other for either team, does it?
I mean, the
Unless
Steelers
the
now.
Steelers have an injury on one of their ends. But other than that,
Well, everybody uses a rotation anymore, so this dude's gonna
right.
play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, here's where it matters. If the Steelers' defense is good enough to have acquired a guy as a rotational piece who is good enough to start for a playoff contender.
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't
That's
that
true.
weird? And they gave him up for a 7th rounder, a starter for a 7th rounder. I don't know. I got to read more into that and find out what the heck that was all about. I don't think it's a massive needle mover. I agree with you, but I just found it really interesting given that all that.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Yeah, and I think we covered the all the important ones other than that stuff. So yeah, I think we're good.
All right. Yeah. An interesting trade deadline. Not as quite as big as last year, but still some good moves, some good movement. And the Lattimore one is really that's thickening. That's thickening to me. I think that one's going to be a big deal for Washington.
I completely agree, and it bums me out. It's a great move by them, I thought. Great move by them.
Yep. All right. Well, Al, that's our week 9 preview, or I'm sorry, our week 10 preview. Hopefully, you guys checked out the week 9 review. And don't forget, we do it every week, 2 weeks. So next week we'll be back and we'll review everything we got wrong in week 10, and we'll preview week 11 as we continue to move on in the season, as it continues to fly by like it does every damn week.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. What a crazy season. I love it. It goes so fast. And there's always fun stuff to talk about. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Also, just going to mention real quick, Al and I were on The Baseline, a different podcast, the baseball podcast, with the Unicorn Jordan. That's his podcast. And we did some third base, the all time third base list of the top 10 all time third basemen. We each had our own list and we went over that. And we're going to move on in a few more weeks to go to catcher. But on this podcast, next Monday, we're going to have the end of season baseball wrap up show, which we had been having to get to. We haven't gotten to it yet. When are the awards out for baseball?
That's a good question. I'm kind of surprised they don't. Why don't they do them during the postseason? That's so weird.
I think they do them right after, so it should be coming up.
Baseball awards. Here we go. What do you got, baseball?
Usually, it's like the first day is the manager of the
Oh,
managers of the year, and then the rookies.
looks like a week from today, November 12th, they're doing a show on the MLB network to announce the award winners.
All of them.
Looks like Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, and MVP. It looks like, if I'm reading this right, although it's a little confusing what I'm looking at. So I definitely something is happening on the 12th for sure. Rookie of the Year. Beyond that, I'm not 100%.
All right. Well, either way, we're going to wrap up the baseball season next week, talk about the World Series, and talk about all of our predictions and a little bit of an outlook ahead. Jordan will join us for that. That is next Monday coming at you. And then, of course, we'll be back with the football the next day. Anything else to add, Al?
No, that's perfect. I'm glad you brought up the thing we did with Jordan. That was a blast. Check it out if you love baseball. It's really fun. We did third baseman and we did shortstops about a month ago. Very fun stuff. And what's the name of Jordan's podcast one more time?
The baseline.
The Baseline, which is a great name for a baseball podcast. That's right.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. I
Great
like
name.
it.
Yep, Jordan's awesome. If you haven't heard any of his stuff, check him out. He's a young fella that loves baseball, which makes him a unicorn.
That's why I call him the unicorn, because
I
he's
love it. I love it.
young people that love baseball that much.
Yeah,
It's hard to find because he'll watch a random game on MLB Network. Like, he'll watch the Royals and Blue Jays on the MLB Network and be happier than a pig in shit.
yeah, man, and he'll talk knowledgeably and about a player that played in 1972 or 1943, like you and I can, and I
Yeah,
love it.
during the off season, he mentioned that in the podcast. During the off season, he says MLB Network plays a lot of older games too, and he watches those too.
I love that, man. I love that. Yeah, it's hard to bring up something, and I don't know that I ever have in baseball to Jordan that he's not like, oh yeah, like he's knowledgeable about it. He's already aware of this player X that did something in 1984. You know what I mean? I love that.
Yep, yep. All right, cool. So until next week, everybody, I will see you later.